remedies, right? So the first one is pure air. Now, pure air is listed first as the true remedy. Pure air is listed first. The fact that it is listed first, are you with me? Shouldn't that give us some idea as to the importance of it? It's listed first, pure air. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the most important, because it is said that you can live without food for, I think, 3 months. And you can live without water for about 3 days. But with air, it's about three minutes. We can live without air from. So air is so important. Now this thing here, which we put over our face, it's impacting the respiratory system. It's common sense. It's not so. Because you put it over your face, you cover up your nose. It has to do with breathing. It's the breathing mechanism that is affected. Now I'm going to share with us some of the things that the servant of the Lord has written pertaining to air. Some of the things that the servant of the Lord has written pertaining to air and its importance. Ministry of Healing, page 262. She says this. Page 262. She says this. Pure air, the glad sunshine, the flowers, and the trees, the orchards, and vineyards, and outdoor exercise amid these surroundings are health-giving, life-giving. So this tells us more that the pure air out there in the sunshine, that's why we as colporters, that's one of the things that help to get me out of the pharmacy, because in the pharmacy you're not getting really pure air. But when you are outside, walking up and down, when you're outside walking up and down, walking to this customer, walking to another customer, the sun on you. Now some people think that those are curse, That when you're out there in the air walking around, that is a curse, Some people actually think so, that it's better when you're in your car, sit down, or when you're in New Kingston on the AC, and they think that we walking outside, we are suffering, we are under a curse or something. But it is not so. It is better to be out in the pure air and to get that beautiful sunshine on us than to be in the building. And that is what the servant of the Lord is saying. That the pure air, the glad sunshine, like what you get up in your field there, Sister Burnett, when you are out there working on the farm. And even yesterday I was outside chopping around in the bush. And when I was out there chopping in the bush at my yard, the rain started to fall, And I said, you know what? I'm not going to stop chopping. I'm going to just go and chop and let the rain fall. So I did just that. So I was out in the rain chopping. And then afterwards, I left and get ready and came out on the road to do some work. So it's good to be out in the pure air, where we can get pure air and where we can get sunshine on us. These are some of God's rich blessings for us to enjoy. Now, the blood is the current of life, the servant of the Lord tells us. And do you know that the air that we breathe has a lot to do with the kind of blood that we have? Listen to this statement. In order to have good blood, in order to have what? Good blood, we must breathe full, we must breathe well. Right? Right, Angel? In order to have good blood, we must breathe well. Then listen to this. Full, deep inspirations of pure air, which fill the lungs with oxygen, purify the blood. So can you imagine if the air that you breathe in is not pure, is not good air, is, for example, air that is foul, because, you know, we just keep it breathing it over and over, the blood, it will affect the blood. This is what pure air does. They impart to it a bright color and send it a life-giving current to every part of the body. A good respiration soothes the nerves, it stimulates the appetite, and renders digestion more perfect, and it induces sound, refreshing sleep. So those are some of the benefits of being able to breathe properly, getting full, deep inspirations. In order to have good blood, the servant of the Lord says, we must breathe well. And I don't need to point out to us, because that's why we are colporteurs. I don't need to point out to us that what the servant of the Lord wrote, that she don't just get up and say, all right, I'm going to write as many books as I can, and just write. No. Somebody give her what to write. It's either Satan or God give her what to write. And the test of time and other things have shown us that it is the Lord that gave her what to write. And the ways of the Lord are far ahead of the ways of man. Isn't that so? In fact, as men in their self-importance will think that their ways are wiser than the ways of the Lord. In fact, men in their self-importance will think that their ways, they will think that God's way is foolishness. You agree with me on that? Yeah. And the Bible tells us that too, that the things of God are foolishness to the men of the world. You know, they don't understand it. They are foolishness unto them. Yes. Okay. Moving on. So we talk about the importance of fresh air for our lungs. Now, in my introduction, I mentioned that air and breathing is very topical now. It is, because the authorities, who we cannot say that they are informed by God, want us all to cover up our mouth and our nose, and they are singing a song that says that this is the new norm. You have heard it? You have heard the song? That you have heard the song, right? That the new norm now is to cover up your nose and mouth, and whenever you go anywhere, that's how you should be.
The bus is crowded and you have to travel and go about your business. Okay, would it be okay for you to just put on the mask while you're going to, because that's what I do. When I'm going to the bus, I put on my mask and just go in and bus saying that, oh, it's about stop up night. Don't you think that is not wise?
All right. That's a good point you mentioned there. But this side of the argument, that side of the argument is heard a lot, but this side of the argument is kind of suppressed. And so I'm putting this side of the argument so that we can have some amount of balance instead of we thinking that even when we are walking on the road, we must have our face in mask. Or even when we are alone in our car driving, we must have our face in mask. Or, even when we are at home, we must have our face in mask. So it is, yes.
I think in the long run there can be some form of implication because upon this thing all the time is so hot, very hot, and to have it on for the entire day, that's like crazy. That's very
And that's
crazy.
the point. And that's the point. And we can't have it on for the entire day, but we're just feeling ourselves.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's why I'm saying, when you're in a crowded area,
Right.
put it on. When I'm walking on the road and being comfortable, I don't wear my mask.
Okay.
I can't do that.
All right. Let me move on. Let me move on. All right. We hear that side of the argument. All right. Let me move on. Now the lungs. Okay. The freedom of the lungs. Still in the book Ministry of Healing, a book that I know Sister Burnett used a lot, right? And I sell that book a lot too, Ministry of Healing. The lungs, Ministry of Healing, page 272. The lungs, the what? Lungs. This is what the Lord said. Should be allowed the greatest freedom possible. Is it? So the lungs, it is unusual, abnormal, and not conducive to the health that we can expect to get if the lungs are not allowed the greatest freedom possible. So we should strive to make sure that our lungs are given the greatest amount of freedom. Their capacity is developed by free action. It diminishes if they are cramped and compressed. Hence the ill effects of the practice so common, especially in sedentary pursuits of stooping at one's work. And I would add the wearing of masks. Okay, moving on. So as we, and I said that I would also add the wearing of masks. Yes. So when you bend over like this, some people sew. Now my mother, she used to sew, but not much still. But when you sew in there, sometimes you bend over the machine or even if you are doing some other kind of sedentary work where you sit down most of the time and you are hunched over, like that, so you're not breathing properly. So that affects the lungs. And I'm saying what also affects the lungs is the wearing of masks too affect the lungs as well. All right, moving on. So the lungs should be given the greatest amount of freedom. Now, consider this. Consider this. This quote, I was listening to a presentation this morning and I heard this quote mentioned. But I had it here before. The lungs are constantly throwing off impurities and they need to be constantly supplied with fresh air. So you hear that? Our lungs, breathing, the normal course of breathing, we are constantly throwing off impurities because the lungs is one of the excretory organs of the body. So the lungs put out carbon dioxide, but there are also other things that the lungs put out. So the lungs are constantly throwing off these impurities, and they need, that is the lungs, need to be constantly supplied with fresh air. So the lungs is not in a good position when it is, when the impurities that it put out is accumulating to be inhaled again. And if we are routinely wearing a mask over our face and breathing into it, then the impurities are going to be accumulating there. And the Lord in His mercy has given us the sun and the air to take care of those impurities. Yes, Sister Bernie.
A friend of mine was saying that she noted certain things where she was living because of this carbon dioxide not going out in the air to allow the plants to bear, that the plants are not drying up and they are not bearing and so they don't. So not only are we affected, the plants are affected also.
Okay. Okay. All right. Impure air does not afford the necessary supply of oxygen, and the blood passes to the brain and other organs without being vitalized. So if the air is not pure, then it is still going to be absorbed in the body. It's still going to be carried to the brain. It's still going to be carried to the heart and all the different systems in the body. Now, I was listening to something this morning, and I think it is correct. I think they are correct. I think they are correct. I think they are correct. And what a group of doctors were saying. Now, we're saying regarding the wearing of masks is that it's going to cause people to teeth to decay more, and it's going to also sour people's breath. Right? And it's going to lead to certain things like increase in heart disease, because if you're inside your mouth damage, it increases your risk of having heart problems. That's why it is important to floss on a regular basis, so that no inflammation will develop there that will carry to the heart. So I believe the Lord showed us this beforehand, that we don't need to have, that we want to be in a position to breathe freely, to breathe the best way, to breathe fresh air. We don't want to be in a position where we are attacked. All right? So, in this situation of sickness, where it is said that a pandemic is around, some people say it is a pandemic, and some people say it is a child of the papacy, and it is a pandemic. And it is not surprising to find that many of the people who are pushing this agenda regarding this pandemic or plandemic, I prefer the word plandemic though. The people who are pushing it, they are largely trained by Jesuits.
Yes.
The man who whenever you listen on the news and they are introducing him, they say, America's top infectious disease specialist. I wonder how you get qualified to be top. If you have a certificate that says, I am the top infectious disease specialist. No. Yes, Angel. Yes, you were saying something. Okay. So, the reason why I'm saying this, why I'm putting this to us, is so that we can have a certain amount of balance, that we don't think that we should sleep in mass. Or that we should eat in mass. Or that mask is a beauty statement, so we need to have the most colorful and fashionable ones. Or we must have name brand masks.
I remember a few summers ago, I just got a new mask, child mask. But while I was in church, the mask was just so suffocating. I said, you know what? I go outside. And I said, I'm just carrying. Because I don't believe, I said, sit in church, the suffocating mask for 2-3 hours, and killing myself. So I take it out, and I was outside. Now when you say they give me like the one that you have, well, that is not so much bad as in the one that I have before. So like, you know, this man, weird man, and you have to have it on your face, and it really, actually, it's suffocating.
The one I researched and I got that tell us the type of mask that is preferable to wear. Right? Because some of these masks, they say people then just split together, just someone maybe right? It's not conducive for us to wear on our face. Right? So they have the proper medical mask that you can wear. Not saying everybody sleep with it or anything, you know, just wear it at the appropriate time. Right? So that's the one that we have to
I didn't say about the man. I was watching, I said it in the book, I was watching a presentation. But the more after that, I really feel one thing at the front of it. In some part of the world, I say it's probably for them to wear that man because they don't have to do that anything. That thing that they have, it can come through that. I'm like, God, this is really. You know, because for you to have on something that they are not getting here to, and it's so close to their feet, they can breathe and then you are taking back everything back. Whatever the left or to the more, the more meditation you got back into the body.
So, so we see that this is the solution that the world has provided. The question that we need to ask ourselves is, what solution has God given us? Has God given us any solution? Is there any solution in our health message? I mean, has God given us anything that we can use to protect ourselves, that to take care of ourselves, to safeguard our health? These are some of the questions that we need to ask, rather than, let the word decide for us. Decide for us. Because I feel that I'm attacked when you're telling me that I must wrap up my face like that. That's my view. Yes.
The message or caution that God has given to us is like that what you just said earlier on with the 8 laws of health. And we know that cleanliness is next to godliness, so that is all we need.
Right, because we know about the water already. Right? We know about the diet. We know about the exercise. Being out there in the sun. Because, I mean, let's face it, if you check anywhere, they're not focusing on it much or talking much about it. But sunlight kill the virus, Yeah.
because
Sunlight and fresh air kill the virus.
because when you maybe look vegetarian cocoa, it has over 14 benefits, and part of the 14 benefits, air is what is in it. The sunlight is able to destroy all of that. So I was such a nice, I was sometimes on my side if I'm going to see somebody to talk with them.
Right,
And
right.
and then I take it off and then go on my way because I do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Because me, I wear mask. I wear mask,
If you go in the supermarket,
But,
you just put it on when it is necessary
Yeah,
to get that fresh air inside the body.
what I want to ask you to go, maybe I'll get something, I'm going to once I go in and I put it on. Well, and then when I came out and come over, I removed it. Because I am decided to eat it. No matter what it is.
Right.
Can I say something?
Yes, Sister
We
Burnett.
have to trust in God. Because when we look
That's
at
a very
it,
important one.
way or the other.
Mhm.
Because if you don't have it on, there are surely a lot of things that can happen to you because can come and be that it's either the mask or something stuff. And we know some of us when we put it on we can't even breathe. And we know the benefits of fresh air. So we have to move moderately. For example, we are going to public transportation. This is going to be the soon. And we are not in a crowded area. We just take our seat and just walk. But we're in a crowded area. Sometimes they say so something when I see it, and I will say, there's a flag, there's something to So all these are signs to show that Jesus is coming near. And we have to trust him to protect us. Because as we know, these things were planned, and the Bible says these things we have to work for redemption through the plan.
And one thing that the prophet Jeremiah wrote, under the inspiration, he says, "Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and that maketh curse be the man that trusteth in man, and that maketh flesh his harm, and whose heart departed from the Lord. For he shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places of the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. But blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, and he shall not see when heat cometh, nor be careful in the time of drought." So, even in this time, in fact, now more than ever, we have to put our trust in the Lord, as you have mentioned, Sister Burnett. This is the time to put our trust in the Lord. Because if the Lord cannot help us as his people who are out there doing his work, even though we have many struggles, we have many things to overcome, and we must not give up the fight, the Lord is able to carry us through our struggles. But we can put our trust in God, that if we continue with him, if we walk with him, if we turn from our sins, and he's able to help us to do so, then, we shall have the victory. Because we know that what Satan does, he knows that his time is short. So he has come down with great power. So he's going to do his utmost to take us down. He's going to do his utmost to take us down. But I end on this note. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord. So even as we go about, remember, we were talking about the importance of fresh air for our lungs and for our health in general. So let us study to put ourselves into position where we get air in its freshest. Maybe some of us, we have to move to the country. So if we have to spend more time outdoors, outdoors. And you see, when we trust in the Lord, we see when good cometh. Because it is a blessing when we to do the evangelistic work, the literature evangelistic work. It is a blessing, Because some of us, it makes us strong. We out there walking about, a lot of people can't walk. They can't walk. So we give the Lord thanks. So I will end on that note, so that we will at least have some balance regarding this matter of how the mask affect our respiration. We don't want things to make our respiration don't work good. And the medical community has done some good things, but they have also done some foolish things as well. And historically, like they used to bleed people, When you are sick, they think that you should cut you and let out the blood. And certain chemicals they used to use, and they still use harsh chemicals. So by trusting in God is the safest way for us to go. All right? So I end on that note.